So now I work from Montreal 3 days a week and 4 days in Ottawa-Gatineau.
Oh,
And
okay.
we are doing an expansion in Quebec. So that's why I go back and forth. And plus, I have a portfolio of clients that I check on or try to develop more in Montreal.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love Montreal. That was my dream since a couple of years to go start working there. So it's the perfect storm for me and start working there.
You like big cities, right?
I love big cities.
You should go to old Montreal. We've been to 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗧𝗘 last weekend. It was nice. We've been on a rooftop restaurant, and it was pretty nice.
That's amazing. I love Old Port. I love Griffintown, Westmount, all those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Nice, nice, nice. So we have the FORNUX team today here.
Yeah, not the whole team, though.
Not the whole team. I know that it's a big company. I checked you out. I checked the company, and I think at least 10 guys, 10 people working there.
We're at like 6 right now. Yeah.
6?
7. Yeah.
And everybody with their expertise. I know. So tell me how you started. I know that Phil was you're both co-founders who had the idea, who developed it. How was that? How all started?
You want to go, Phil?
Yeah. So I've been working on that for a long time, and especially on astrophysics, both the memory manager of C++ superset for a long time, for at least 10 or 15 years in my spare time, and it was really the C++ superset was really the pain point of C++, because the memory because you see solutions from Java, they have garbage collectors and things like that, but garbage collectors are kind of non-deterministic. They're sluggish. It's a little bit like Android, the Android phone. A little bit, it drains the memory, and then at some point it's gonna freeze or something like that. So
listen, this talk is for the entrepreneurs. I know you are a genius and very smart.
Yeah.
So simplify that to the general entrepreneurs. We're gonna look at this recording video in a day, in 6 months, and looking into your company and thinking, okay, this is very smart, and this is how I understand it better and stuff. I know you have a lot of expertise and went international, worked in California, San Diego, and built all this knowledge from there. So in simple words, like simplify that to a general entrepreneurs, how you got the idea, how you developed it, and we're going to get to the projects and specifics and stuff. But how did you get the idea to work in this kind of developing the company, developing all the projects and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, 20 years ago, I always wanted to start a company, and I did write some scientific applications, like 3D rendering, scientific tools for mathematics, also the calculator and things like that, scientific calculator.
Okay.
And at the same time, I was working on the Boost open source community. It's an open source C++ community, and I always wanted to find a solution for memory management,
Okay.
to fix that problem, because it's really the pain point of C++.
Yes.
And it needs to be fast as well. So yeah, I just spent the last 20 years working on that in parallel with other attempts on. I did even try social media at some point to write applications for the mobile apps and things like that.
Okay.
And but it's not something I really enjoy, because they change processors on the mobile phones, and you need to change the compiler, things like that. So it's very complex. It's for me, it was not worth the effort. So I really focused on the astrophysics and the
So that's what excites you, astrophysics, and
yeah.
anything complicated, or I guess.
Does it show?
The most complicated the more I will enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And Nicola, I know you. We met in the office of Keller Williams, I think, the first time, and you were in finance, and I guess you connected well with the banks, got to know all the networks, all the business people in that world. So tell me about how you met with Phil and you decided, you guys, to make this brilliant company.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I met some interesting people over the years. I started eventually at Cirque du Soleil as a tax technician, took over some big roles over there. After that, I went for at least for about 6 years mortgage agent. I get to know, like the back ends of the banks, how it works. I used to do for clients different solutions. There wasn't a thing I wouldn't do for various clients for because how complicated it gets. For
so you have to find
want
different solutions, private lender, talk to different banks with different programs, I guess.
It even goes behind past private lenders, because at some point you have to work with accountants to work the numbers around so that it doesn't some numbers show as a deficit. You try to switch that as an asset for the banks, and what they accept and what's it and why not. So at some point some companies actually approached me to work with them for financial purposes. And then that's where I met Phil at one of the what was it, Phil? What was the
event?
It was in
networking that we met. I don't remember the name anymore, but I met Phil there. Hey?
So a networking event. You met at the networking event.
Yeah, exactly. And we started talking, and I really found him interesting. And I have that sense when I talk to people. I get where they're going at. I get their sense of what they're working for, their company and whatnot. And I looked it over, and some point I was like, and he actually he asked me if I wanted to be part, handling all the financial part of it. And I was like, well, why not? And that's where I started going from CFO to eventually CEO from 2019, I think it was, or the end of 2018. And I worked for FORNUX ever since. So it's a nice company to work on, especially I've always wanted to be working in something concerning space. Actually, I wanted to be an astronaut at 3 years old, so I mean, you can imagine how excited I was working on special projects like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's crazy sometimes that it's all about the vision. So when you find someone who have the same vision, or something that makes you think about what your purpose is and stuff, that's when this is what you want to spend your time on, invest your energy in. And I guess that's what you felt when Phil told you about the project and what he wants to accomplish. And that's what leads me to tell you or ask you, what do you think, you guys, the end point, the end work that you want to accomplish? And if I know you are in robotics and artificial intelligence, will the robots kill us? Are we getting to that point?
Do you want to start, Phil, or do you want me to start on the more general aspect of it and you go on the technical side?
Yeah, go ahead. Start off with the general side.
All right. So, it always depends. It depends. That's the answer technically to that question. I mean, It depends whoever develops the technology, whatever they want to do with it, right?
The intention.
Because everybody wants to control AI, everybody wants to control robotics, and for example, like and they want the robotics to do their biddings. For example, you have those restaurants in China. I think it's China or maybe Japan. It's somewhere in Asia, where the robots are replacing servers, literally. There's no
Ottawa.
servers.
And even in Ottawa, we have like the sushi Yokohama, whatever.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, it's already here. I made like a small video last time I went for sushi, and the server is a robot. And Montreal is developing a lot as well.
So so you know, at some point, it always depends what you want to do with the technology. But yes, it can go pretty far as to you know what they want to do. I mean, if you're talking government side or military side, they want to use this technology, you know, to make their country safe and, you know, to go against threats. Now they say they want to control AI, but AI itself, if it goes conscious at some point, which will, you know, like Elon Musk at some point said, it won't be controllable, and that's true. There's no way to control an AI that, you know, that thinks a billion times faster than us, is a billion or billions of times smarter than us in every which way. There's just no way. And so there's this sort of paradox where we want to develop AI, but at some point they're scared of it. So they try to retract this development, and then there's like, well, we're going to try to go elsewhere because it didn't quite go the way we wanted, because they can control it. For example, I'm talking about the experiment they did with two robots. Facebook actually did the experiment. And was it Google? One of the two anyways. And they invented their own language. But before they could end up to an agreement between transaction.
They call it what? Sentient or something like that?
Yes, I think that's the right word, sentient. And before it went to an agreement between the transaction, they actually pulled the plug because they were scared of the new language. So at some point, do you want to develop the AI? Do you want it to get to be more intelligent, or do you not want it to be more intelligent? Now, I know there's some risks to it. So you have to, you know, be aware of what you want to do, but, you know, don't go halfway, you know, sort of thing. But, you know, it's especially if you want to develop businesses, stuff like that, I think AI should remain to help humans and draw in one way and not replace them. So that's my my thing of it. But it can be dangerous. It can be very helpful. It always depends on who's controlling it in the end, or, you know, at some point, if it gets angry, you know, or wants to help, what's their purpose and stuff like that.
Maybe it's gonna develop a new algorithm to build some new pathways in their, you know, in their computer or supercomputer, and work on their way, or even start a new new way of thinking to destroy anything human or whatever. Because
I mean, the AIs currently can develop their own algorithm.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of you know, just a matter of time.
So you said something that is smart, and that's why we are here. Like, I want to tell or share with the community of entrepreneurs how they can use all this technology and tools, devices, whatever, in the next 10 years to be at the top or the elite of other communities and stuff, and understand where we are going and use it to be better, always better.
What is it? I just want to start off with, what is like intelligence? It's really the capacity to abstract and extrapolate and things like that. So you'll be able to predict what is going to happen. So that's a big piece of intelligence right there. So we want to automate everything that can be automated. We want to help for predictions. So that's the core of intelligence, which is the core of all intelligent being, to be able to predict and extrapolate and things like that. So it's important to mention, and so we're really targeting the artificial superintelligence, and what I would call also the collective intelligence, because collective intelligence is the capacity to work together. And I think that's the ultimate goal, is to achieve that. And yeah, so right now there's a lot of narrow intelligence, like deep learning, things like that. So our goal is to scale this up to other types of intelligence I just mentioned.
Yeah, so it's interesting point he says, because collective intelligence is it's what we're aiming for. It's like I said, it's to help human beings, right?
Yes.
The process of helping each other, cooperating together. It's all about developing together, right, for a better future. Because the ultimate goal, really, of FORNUX is having like, I don't have any kids personally, but the real goal is really to give our children, or the future generations, a better life, or a
A legacy.
legacy that
Yeah.
that a better legacy that we lived in, or that we're living in currently. That's, I think, as adults, that's kind of our responsibilities, as being more intelligent, as having more knowledge and stuff like that, of trying to develop for our future children, future legacies. So trying to work together for a better future, and bringing new technologies. So, for example, they don't have to worry about water, or feeding themselves, or feeding their own kids, or having a planet that will go haywire for X reasons. I think that's kind of important. That's the ultimate goal with AI, that because at some certain point, we humans like to think we're competitive at some point, right? So
Yes.
if Amazon goes against SpaceX, well, they're not going to ask their help.
Exactly.
But technically, the goal should be that they go together and think about how to do better.
To make human lives more comfortable, to make our life better. Should be the main goal of every corporation and company. But sometimes making money comes before that, before that purpose, and that's why I think at some point, yes, we need to limit the robots or the artificial intelligence and stuff physically. Literally, like physically, they can't move certain distances or movements more than you saw, I guess, the article where a robot broke the finger of a kid or something like that. So all that needs to be limited, like to harm any people around them. Plus, for big corporations, we need politics, we need legislation to limit them, how they can control society or go beyond that. And I deeply think that corporations are working or try to eliminate the entrepreneurs in general to go directly to the consumer, because they want more margins, more stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's why we wish that they can maybe, or we are helping to show them a better way of thinking, and just facilitate, make lives more comfortable. Not
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you said, trying to help humans. It could go so fast, like both ways of the metal, the coin. There's stories like the robot that broke its finger because it's metal, right? So it's much stronger than we are.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't meant to be, so to speak. But
that
there's
wasn't
always,
the intention. That's what you mean. Like, it wasn't the intention of the robot to break the finger.
well, I mean, it doesn't really have intention, right? It's following
Yes.
algorithm. So at some point, yeah, you can't really give the robot complain against the robot. I mean, it's just doing its thing, or or there's a bug or programming error or something of some kind. But yeah, so there's, there, like you said, we have to limit at some point the robots. It's kind of hard to do. Like right now, we can limit their movement physically. We can limit them on a wire, or I mean, within softwares and computers and whatnot. But eventually, to give you an example, I don't want to scare anyone, but there was a team in Japan that actually was working on AI, and their goal was making robotics with AI, right? And the first one went great. They wanted to upgrade to a second one, and the third one actually went haywired, and they actually killed all 21 scientists. Yeah, because the reason how it did that, well, not the third one. Yeah, the third one killed all 21 scientists while it was active. Now they've eventually made a fourth one to shut it down, a fourth robot to shut it down. And and that succeeded. And when they shut down the fourth one, the robot, the same one, actually was trying to connect to a satellite that was passing over Japan, and he was reactivating himself. They got it in time, but at some point,
Yes.
So can you, at some point, if there's true AI, true consciousness, you will never be able to control a true AI. It's not really to scare people. I mean, there's a lot of good things that are coming out of it. They are actually using AI to, for people that can't speak, they're using some kind of technology from the throat, and they can actually speak through a phone.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And somebody that never had a voice now can speak. So it's
I mean,
really,
that's technology, man. That's
it
technology.
is.
It's
And
before we couldn't have, we had the baby bad death or something, and then we discovered the scanner. It makes our life easier. It saves lives and stuff. But as we are saying, it needs to be limited and oriented, and that's why I love your company. I know you guys, and I know you're making your way to that why, to that purpose, to that vision of helping humankind, not just to sell your products to big corporation and to make money, and that's it.
we're very aware that everything takes money, and especially these projects are taking a huge amount of money. There's no question about that. We're really in tune with that. That's why we have investors are running after us technically, and we want to, before revealing or taking any amount of money, we're really trying to have that tangible asset to show them before, because I know it's a tech company. Tech companies are really at risk. It's like the second, in rank to restaurant, so to speak, right? So I know it's very at risk. There's a lot of risk to consider, government, military, and whatnot, stuff like that. So we're trying to take some of that risk off of them by trying to show what it can do and how it's controlled in a certain way. And that's why our algorithm actually that Phil is developing is towards knowledge, trying to know everything. Well, I mean, as possible for an AI, and that's the algorithm it'll be based on. So there won't be anything about personal. How can I say it's because it's not really personal progress, but personal gains for a typical company or a human in particular. But it's really knowledge for the for the world in general, like physics, astrophysics, right, Phil?
Yeah, it's really a mindset of a scientist that learns, abstracts, and extrapolates. And like I was mentioning, the collective side of it at some point that's more related to emotions, because emotions it's just a tool to communicate a state of mind that a node has or an individual has. So emotional things are more related to collective interaction, but ultimately, we're really targeting to represent a scientific mindset, that just learns and helps and gives hints and things like that.
Discover new things to present to the society, to the collective, to the community and stuff. I know that you have products like the FORNUX C++. That's for memory that you were talking about earlier, I think.
Yeah.
On astrophysics, what are you working on exactly?
So it's another deep tech project that I've been working on for the last 10 years and more. I'm basically replacing the whole astrophysics, the whole mathematics of general relativity, but I'm using Einstein's own equations he initially wrote. So I'm not. He initially wrote the variable speed of light.
Okay.
General relativity was initially based on variable speed of light, but he dismissed it. But there's other scientists like Mach and DK. They use that without me. No, I initially did not know, but they turned out to use the variable speed of light to calculate some things about the universe. But me, this is the roots of finite theory by the name of my
book.
my theory. Yeah, my book. And I'm extending. I'm at the solar system scale. I can predict exactly what general relativity predicts. At greater scales, I can map the galactic rotation curve without dark matter. I can find the real mass of the universe, the real size of the universe, the inflation, the Hubble law, pretty much everything. The distance from another what I call universal core, another big massive entity in the universe. But what's most interesting is I use gravito-electromagnetism we're taking advantage of that to create an anti-gravity vector, to create an anti-gravity actually. So it's everything I just mentioned is all mainstream. It's just I interpret differently the equations. I don't invent anything other than the co-moving, what I call the co-moving superposed gravitational framework to disregard dark matter and the galactic rotation curve.
I think all your process, from what I've seen, it's away from mainstream the mainstream research processes. So what gets you away from that?
Yeah, well, I take parts that works and I dismiss things that don't work. I'm not saying all the mainstream is wrong or Einstein was all wrong. Einstein was right. Obviously, he proved many times that he was right in many occasions, but he was wrong for dark matter, dark energy, the inflation of the universe. I'm saying that is wrong, because at the time general relativity was written, it was at the time that they thought that the universe consisted only of the Milky Way, but the universe turned out to be a lot larger than they expected. So they kind of stretch general relativity. It was not made for.
I guess they added more dimensions to it.
Yeah, they just. But time can be controlled. Gravity can be controlled. So we can achieve anti-gravity, force field, and pretty.
How long do you think that we're gonna achieve that? We're gonna get to anti-gravity, and what will that procure? What that give to entrepreneurs or communities around?
So I just want to say, before letting Nick talk, just want to say that I already made a prototype last year and I had positive results. We're gonna do another prototype this year, and we're scaling it up right now. and but I understand the mathematics. Everything is clear. I'm part of a forum. I discuss it with other scientists, and so yeah, I'm not scared. Pretty optimistic. I'm pretty I'm pretty optimistic as everything's going to be fine. So for
I guess
the other question,
by the end of next year, everything will be ready for what you're targeting, right?
Well, actually, if you don't mind, Phil, we're trying to make a prototype for the end of this year.
This year, okay.
Yeah, we're trying to make one of those devices that be able, to have some data on it. And we actually bought our vehicle that we can actually test it on afterwards for the 2023. Hopefully, if we can scale it up, as it says, there is different ways that we can do it. So hopefully in 2023, we can completely have the whole gravity, the whole, well, I mean, yeah, we can have integrity. We can actually lift the car.
Lift the car.
Literally, like the Jetsons.
Yes. So by the end of 2023, we're gonna see the Star Wars starting, the beginning, the origin.
Hopefully, it's gonna be the beginning of the end.
So yeah, and I think you said that the new gravitational theory is ready to be tested on the International Space Station.
So that's another test. I made multiple tests to disprove. I already disproved using a little Google search that there is ether. So that disproves relativity, because Einstein was saying there's no ether. So just with the Earth tides, I calculated that there is something that if you put a gravimeter perpendicular and parallel to the sun is going to measure something, the residual is going to be different. So anyway, I don't want to get into the details, but that's something I did earlier this year. The ISS experiment, the International Space Station experiment, is just to disprove the locality of special relativity, when Einstein was saying that the speed of light is the same in all frameworks. So I'm saying that that's not right, because if you go at a certain speed, like in the International Space Station, you'll be able to measure a shift in wavelength. So because of the speed of the International Space Station, and also the gravitational redshift is something else that can disprove. Actually, general relativity disproves special relativity by using gravitational redshift. So that's another thing that I'm going to present all that on October in a presentation in October.
Maybe in Canada or somewhere else?
Online on the some anti-gravity group I'm part of.
Okay.
And I can share you a link and when I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all inexpensive thought experiment, inexpensive thing. That if you put some scientist put some efforts to understand, then he's gonna have to approve it, because I don't invent anything, and just the ISS experiment is a little bit more expensive, but we need to convince the population. I'm already convinced a long time ago, but I need to convince the whole population that what I'm saying is right.
The scientific population or the general people?
Both. So the general people through the scientific community, the mainstream scientific community that is very conservative right now.
Well, those they need proof, they need tests, and they need stuff. Yes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Most of our theories are backed up by various white papers written and actually experimented on by different scientists.
Yeah, Phil sent me a video of him doing a test for all the axes and stuff for the anti-gravity.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a car flying, man.
I mean, it's always the dream, right?
Yes. I guess in 10 years, that's what we are expecting.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, you know,
I'll probably be before that. You know, it's a
going
matter of
mainstream.
quantum.
I mean, going mainstream and people using them.
I mean, if you want to go mainstream, I think the probably the first thing you'll see is a nuclear device that'll be able to counter gravity. It won't be anti-gravity, so to speak, but they'll be using nuclear reactions, nuclear propulsion, or nuclear reactors of some kind. Definitely.
So I guess you guys, you wake up every morning thinking about this,
Yeah.
or are you doing other stuff?
At work, I mean, I wake up in the morning. Oh yeah, that thing, and we're talking. You know, I'm talking at night with Phil, and we're going to bed. It's like, oh, how does this go on with this? And
Yeah, we're brainstorming almost every day on that subject. So right now we're at the level of we're talking about the standard model in quantum physics, the quantum chromodynamics, things like that.
quantum
So,
will be the next step to breach. So I mean, it's something else.
Yeah, that's another dimension, right? Like I guess it's a lot of work, and
But it has a lot of it, man. The advantages will gain, you know, and have anti-gravity. You know, you'll have, you know, especially when we're talking real estate, you'll have hotels or towers going up to the sky. You know, that you can take off the weights of those towers. I mean, it's not nothing. You know, there's flying
I
cars.
hear Dubai is building a new hotel, whatever, like in the form of a moon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's going crazy. Which country do you think is gonna be the more advanced on this AI and anti-gravity? Will it be the East or West? What do you think?
Whichever develops the or has any control over quantum gravity in my in my personal thinking, whoever develops, you know, just to give you an example of why people are scared of this, is because, you know, we develop and actually Phil calculated that, you know, a madman, for example, could have enough energy in his freaking garage to make a black hole.
Wow.
So at some point, you know, there's, you know, if, for example, if I don't know, Africa develops quantum, everybody will be afraid of Africa. Because why? Because you have the most powerful country in the world at some point, you know, at this point. So if it's the United States, well, it'll be the United States. So whoever develops this, because you can do whatever you want with quantum. You have, you know, superposition. You have entanglement. You can go wherever. You can go actually faster than light. And some, you know, there is a theory of Einstein. You can go faster than light, but in some cases, in quantum, there's things that don't, you know, listen to those rules. So, you know, you can do basically whatever you want in quantum. So whoever develops this and has control over this will be the most powerful. But, you know, in my thinking, if you have this much power, you know, it shouldn't be you shouldn't be scared of. You should be, it's like, oh, that's great. I mean, you can, you know, create a lot of things. You can help the whole world with this. You know, it's basically infinite energy. It's so, you know, countries like Africa will have all the energy they need for development. You know, any third country, there won't be any shortage of anything. You have a lot of abundance at some point. So, I mean, you know, there's a, you know, that will affect economy worldwide. Yes, definitely. There'll be a crash because, you know, when you have abundance, values go down, and, you know, what was your money worth, right? But it's I think it's the only way. It's the next, you know, the next thing that is to be developed for eventually having a more secure, a more how can I,
Controlled.
You know, hey,
Controlled.
not control, but a world that's more open to each other, more bind together, so to speak, for cooperating together instead of being one against the other. It's sort of, at this point, it's sort of absurd. Like, oh, this country sort of developed this thing. Oh, okay, well, now I'm scared of this thing.
Let's
I mean,
destroy them. Let's control them. Let's do this.
yeah, I mean, you have, you know, if you
So
want to have,
that leads me to ask: do you think the governments are right by trying to control more the populations? And because, as you're saying, a madman can create this crazy stuff in the garage. So the governments will be right to try to, I guess,
well,
put some more security and safety in the society by controlling more.
well, just to give you an example, if someone, if you know, if we have access to quantum, if someone actually wanted to escape police officers, right?
Yes.
Goes into a car and gets to China in under a second. He can go to space in under a second, or deep water, you know, the ocean in under a second. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you track down somebody that can go anywhere on Earth under a second? Can you control that?
I'm trying to be everywhere, work in Montreal and Gatineau, but it takes a long time.
That's what I mean. So at some point, trying to control society, or you know, government trying to control everything, will be counterproductive at some point. That's what I think, anyway, personally. Trying to work as a group, though, you know, having a mutual decision on things, multiple countries having, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a G20 or whatever, you know, having a unanimous decision on, let's say, for example, limiting the technology of the public, because I know the, you know, the beneficial side and the bad side of it, right? Of course, you can't have that much power put in the hands of anyone. So there's two sides to technology, you know, like everything. But some technologies affect more than others. So if you have a robot helping you in the house, I mean, the worst that can happen, you know, it's made of metal or whatever, so it can hurt a couple of people. But if you have infinite energy in your hands, you can do a lot more than just hurt a couple of people.
Destroy a city,
countries, and the whole Earth at that point, right? So
yeah.
So there's, yes, some things that should be controlled, I think, and that's why we're being very careful actually with the technology that we are developing, and we're even thinking about, you know, because you can't have, you know, anti-gravity and just throw it out there in the public, the general public, right? So you can have people flying around for X reason I just mentioned, you right?
Yes.
So there has to be some sort of accord between different countries of having this limited, you know, technology being available publicly.
That's what I said. The countries needs to get together as soon as yesterday to establish some rules, to establish guidelines and politics around, same as nuclear, right? And this is in a smaller scale, because anybody who can work like Phil, if he was a crazy guy, who would, you know,
yep, yeah, that could actually happen.
Yeah. So in a smaller scale, they need to start working on that, I guess.
But they need to work together, and
yeah, absolutely.
But at some point, sorry.
Fortunately, so I just want to say, fortunately, I believe in constructive science a lot more than destructive science, because it's a lot more difficult. First, it's a lot more difficult to achieve than creating a bomb or copying someone else's bomb. Most of other countries, they just copy the technology nowadays, but it's a lot more difficult to achieve, and yeah, it's for the challenge. Most of it is difficulty level, and you know, and if we create a bomb these days, I know they have portable nuclear bombs, things like that. So it's pretty dangerous already, and you know, if
I mean, we can destroy the Earth like what, 200 times now.
Yeah.
So I mean, a couple nukes, more or less. Is there a big difference?
Exactly what you said, Nicola. It's we are at a point of history and technologically speaking, so advanced that anybody can destroy Earth.
Exactly.
So we need these countries. Every country needs to get together and work.
That's the challenge.
Yeah,
they need to get together instead of competing against each other.
Yeah. But you know, that's one thing I noticed. You know, in the anti-gravity group, there's a lot of talk about extraterrestrials and things like that.
Yes.
If they are extraterrestrial, and I'm sure they are. One thing amazes me is that they were able to create their anti-gravity technology and interstellar technology before blowing themselves up. It's the same thing we're experiencing right now. Right now we're kind of
imploding ourselves.
Yeah, we're imploding. Exactly, that's the correct word. We need to break through that little bubble, that imploding bubble, and we need to move forward.
I mean, the science, the data actually says that we'll kill each other before achieving the interstellar travel. So
yeah.
I mean,
me first. I'm gonna kill you. I'm going first. That's crazy.
So I mean, at that point, I was like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna build a spaceship at that point while trying, and I just leave everything behind.
Okay, I got it now. So your main purpose, you guys, is to escape and run away. You want
well, try to escape the craziness of this world, right?
You started. You already ran away in some other countries. I won't name. Anyway, it's clearly you guys. This is mind blowing, and you're functioning at a high level. So I would love to know what do you do. I call the triangle of the triad of success. So mental, physical, and spiritual. If you don't work on this and it's not balanced for each, you're not successful. You're not happy. You're imbalanced. You're either unhealthy or whatever. So what's your, I guess, the strongest aspect or the strongest thing you do for each of them? What do you think? Are you to keep up with this high energy, high performance?
Yeah, I'm going to start, Nick. So just want to say that I train, and I train. Did I say I train? So I do kung fu. I do play hockey once in a while, and I'm planning to do skiing during the winter time.
Kung fu? Do they have belts? I don't know if kung fu they have belts. Yes.
Yeah. I'm still blue belt, but I'm also a black belt in Taekwondo.
Okay.
I used to practice Taekwondo when I was younger.
From you, Phil. You're dangerous, man.
Dude, you should see him. He's like, what, 6'4", 230?
260, actually.
260. Okay, he's a big boy.
Wow.
Yeah. And but I train, and spiritual level, I put a quote from the Bible: is help yourself and God will help you. That's the only quote that I mostly retain from the Bible. So I agree with you. You need to be balanced, yin yang, or call it whatever you want. It's very important to be balanced emotionally, physically, and mentally.
Mentally, you're working a lot on that mentally side, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try as well. I on a daily basis, that's my thing. That's my anti stress pill, if you want to. I train from 1 hour to 2 hours a day. It's intense. It's crazy. Every time I go out of the gym, you could scream at me, and there won't be any reaction at that point. So it's really my thing. It's my gym, really. Like every time I went to the gym max, everybody knew. Like everybody knew me for that. That's definitely.
He even brought dumbbells when he moved to Mexico in his luggage.
Not in my luggage, but it's waiting for transport. Yes.
Well, I guess they have some. There are a lot of gym stuff in there.
Oh yeah, I got my gym. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I need my gym.
So, guys, what do you think? One thing that the entrepreneur must do today: read, keep up with what kind of technology to be up to date, to be fresh with how everything is going, and.
Well, it depends. It depends what he wants. If he targets just a standard store, and then with a high demand, there needs to be a demand for sure. But if it's deep tech, then well, welcome to the jungle. I'll let Nick speak to that.
Yeah, it depends in what kind of way you're talking. If you're talking technology side or business as a general, or even
Everything.
personal
Like
side.
me, as an entrepreneur, I'm a real estate agent.
Mhm.
I work in the region of Gatineau, Ottawa, and Montreal as well,
Yeah.
and even develop stuff in Mexico. So, what should I read to keep up with what kind of technology to not be obsolete in 10 years with all the technology going to anti-gravity, AI, 3D printing? What do you think for entrepreneurs like me who have the usual work, like just working with the phone and meeting clients, stuff like that? What will make my life easier and push my business higher? Which technology to review, which stuff to add to my business?
If you want to be, try to grow, sort of thing, your business, in a general way, you should keep your own pace, sort of thing.
Okay.
I've seen people crash when they're trying to go too fast because they weren't, it's not their thing. Or I've seen people not go fast enough when they know they can do much more. It's always depends on on various people, but basically have your own pace, know your own pace, and try to stay within that pace. Like, for example, I met this woman at Cirque du Soleil, and she does marathons like all the time, and she runs a 10 kilometers per day now, even better, even like 15. And she started at like 5, and I was like, how do you get to 15 or 15 and doing marathons? And she's like, I'm not tired afterwards. I was like, holy moly, how? And she's like, well, you just got to keep your pace. Like, per week I just add 10% of my my distance to it, and I just keeping my pace, slowly but surely I get there. Like, I have a goal that I want to get, and I know, like, I have to add 10% per week, and you can calculate that easily, right? And I think it's the same thing. It made a big perspective on businesses. It's basically the same thing, and the only difference is you're not running a marathon. So, but everybody gets tired as an entrepreneur. Everybody is, it's over their head with things to do. So at some point, uh, you just have to add that much, but keep your pace. Don't go overboard, because you'll just tire yourself out, and you'll be done before you know it, or you get tired of it and you just want to quit. Stuff like that. If you want to know more about technology, you want to be up to date with technology, stuff like that. You want to read more about technology magazines. There's social media. There's so many places you can have access to various technologies that are being developed. There's Microsoft. They're posting news. You have conferences throughout the world are posting news of what the new technologies are, stuff like that. You can have connections, people in the tech industries. I mean, it's so good to have connections in the tech industry, because you know what's going on afterwards.
I
You
know
have
what's going on now, and I'm gonna be on the back seat in your car, man. You're running away, and
I'll give you a ride at some time.
I have you now.
Yeah.
Don't panic. Technology, yes, is going to the future and stuff. So keep up your pace, integrate technology as you go,
Yeah,
and
don't
just review
rush yourself.
magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah, do what you're comfortable. Yeah, like, you have mountain cars nowadays, and you have muscle cars still. So if people don't want to use a mountain cars, well, stay with your muscle car. There's nothing wrong with that. People want technology, and there's other people that don't want technology. So there's always going to be those two worlds, or even maybe sometimes I want to get off technology at some point. When I go to the gym, I never bring my cell phone with me. It's my off zone. So I'm not always on technology, though I always read about it, and I always read white papers and scientific papers and whatnot. So that's how I keep up with it. But you don't. Some people don't want to miss. They don't want to read about it, because even reading 10 lines of it in an article tires them. So maybe it's not for them. It's, it's normal, and we have to respect that.
Sometimes you want to know the end point of something or where you're going, and project to know what you should do step by step to that. And I have this idea of every day, if you do 1%, it's the same thing of keeping your pace on with things. Every day, if you do 1% better, in 1 year, you are 365% better.
Yep.
Than today, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was great, guys. I have this polarity test, if you wish.
Sure.
I like to have the idea or how people think sometimes. And so, for example, conformity, no conformity. What do you think about that?
Can I start?
Go ahead, Phil.
No conformity.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but no, I'm not. Literally not.
Non-conformity as well, because since I'm young, I always liked astrophysics, but I knew that there was something wrong with it when they were talking about length contraction and things like that in my freshman classes. I did not agree with it, and they said, well, that's nonsense. And now here I am, but I couldn't explain why, but now I can explain why. I can say exactly why. So, I was, I disagree more with the mainstream than I agree, but that helps me. That gives me my drive to do against the mainstream research for such a long time.
You love to question the mainstream. You love. When did it start? This is so curious, man. When did it start? You were 12, 10. You started questioning things, or?
Yeah, actually, it started when I moved to San Diego. I got inspired. I was working with somebody who studied physics, and I asked him if it's basic questions on the black hole and things like that. Then I asked him if it's possible to cross the event horizon of a black hole, and he said no. It depends on the observer anyway. Some complex answer. And then I got inspired to move forward with that, and I started talking with other colleagues at work.
Okay.
And yeah, that's around 2007, 2008 that
Okay.
it all started, and I started writing a book in 2009.
Yeah, you spoke about that book. What's the name of the book?
Well, I've got many editions, but the latest one is called Finite Theory, Historical Milestone in Physics.
Okay.
It's with I forgot the publisher, but you can find it easily on Amazon.
So, perfect. Nicola, what do you think about conformity, non-conformity? But what do you think about the non-conformity?
Yeah, I've always been non-conformed. I always had, since I was young, a critical mind. Always questioned everything. I don't care what you say, I always question it. Why does he think like that? Where did it come from? So somebody that tells me, oh, this is the truth, this is a dogmatic answer.
I need proof.
Where? Why? How come? No. So every time people, I used to get not laughed at, but sort of joked about for this.
Yeah.
But at some point, this is where it got me. So I've always, had the same thinking, critical thinking about everything. So every time, they say this is true, it's like the constant of light, for example. They say it always goes at 300 million, 300 million meters per second. And this is the constant C, right? It's the constant is used in every formula almost in physics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a base. It's a basic, and I always question it. And we found out otherwise, through research, white papers, you name it. And we don't want to talk more on that because it affects a lot. There's everything is based on that constant. But there's other other than science, it could be political, it could be just a matter of is it red or is it blue, so so to speak. So I mean, I always had that critical thinking. So it got me that far. So that's why I'm never conform. It's not because some couple billion people will say that's what it is, or I'm gonna think that's what it is. No, never.
Well, that's what make us as humans, the
Exactly.
critical.
That's what I like. These people have different different ideas. They have different thinking, and they come from different perspective with different backgrounds. That's what I like about different people.
Yeah, and this is what is the core of my desire, or what I wanted to build with this community and the group, is real talks. Talking, and getting to know people and entrepreneurs, not just going through videos or just reading a line or whatever. Getting to know real stuff, because we lost that touch of human connections and knowing people deeply, and people with critical thinking are seen nowadays like this guy, this person, this lady is too complex or too complicated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is how we advance the society,
Yeah. Most of the people, they just want their paycheck and go back home, and that's it.
Yes, like robots.
Yeah, exactly.
Robots for the system. Okay, so winning, losing, and this is the last one. Winning, losing. What do you think? What's winning? What's losing?
I think winning is the because technically they're different. Winning is like an abstract subject, right? It's like losing. It's the same thing. Like winning. What is winning? For me, winning is cooperating with somebody else, right? Losing is the meaning of gaining experience and not doing that, not doing it a second time.
Yeah.
If I can resume it that way.
Yeah, you learn. You don't do the same mistake twice. And winning for me is more of accomplishment, more than money or anything else. Really, accomplishment is really ultimate goal.
So accomplishment of your work goals or life goals, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. I know that a couple of organizations and maybe even government parties and corporations try to open discussion and buy your company, stuff like that. But you didn't want to sell, right?
Yeah, we had a couple. How can I be? It can be publicly correct to say this, but yes, it happened. Kind of turned it down for several options that we had, if I can say that. But there's a lot that we're always negotiable on a lot of things, especially cooperating in multiple ways. But I could say that some companies, they're looking out of the more on the financial side of things. If it works, of course it has to, but we're also looking, cooperative way doesn't mean, it's something that one gives and the other one doesn't give at all. It goes both ways. So basically it's a win-win for both of them. But at some point they, where companies look out for their pockets more than anything else, it's not really a mentality we're looking at FORNUX. We're looking for a people that actually want to, partner with us, to work with us, and to grow together. Not something that's a quick buck or something like that. It's a company.
In the same direction of what you want to go with your why is to the collective, and another company who wants to collaborate for the collective, for the communities, to go somewhere.
Yes, exactly. We want to cooperate to bring something better. I don't care if it's in that company's overview or in that company's business. I mean, it's all right for me. But it's yeah, so we're trying to collaborate as much as we can. That's why we're lucky enough to have multiple companies working actually right now with us, or multiple people. They're actually looking at us and they're like, wow, this is what you're doing for, because there's a lot of risk on what we're doing. It might not look risky, but the natural of the things we're doing, the technology we're trying to develop is actually dangerous in itself.
The nature of the industry is dangerous in itself. Yeah.
Yeah, the nature of it. Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of so that's why I was saying earlier that we're working on multiple threads.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Maybe if you don't want to work to sell this to corporations, work with the government, as we said before, in controlling, not control, but to arm, to give the right tools to peaceful parties to counter the mad countries, the mad people doing bad stuff.
Yeah, we're just to give a heads up, it's we're actually working with various governments, military as well, because it's a technology, that I said it has its risks. So we're working with them, trying to develop things that a way that will be able to work together, because it's not something that can be just put out there publicly. So we're working on different ways that we can work on this and how we can abort it. Or even thinking about, for example, having government or military on our board for transparency reasons and not, having any say in what we do. Yes. But just to show, where we're going with this, where our thoughts are going with this, and that we're not trying to do a fourth world war or anything of that kind.
I have 10 years with the government, working in the diplomatic field with foreign affairs and stuff, and public works as well. So I know the protocols of this, and I worked even in meetings with generals and CSIS and stuff like that, the protocols and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So perfect. If you want me to connect you with James Bond, let me know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anytime you want. Call me.
Just kidding. Thank you very much, you guys. Well, that was awesome. And
yeah, thank you for inviting me, for inviting us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're the one. Thank you.
Thank you, of course. And of course, if I'm in Montreal, I'm in Mexico, we're gonna meet and have a couple.
Come to 𝗪𝗔𝗔.
Yeah.
Let's get a drink.
Yeah. I'm close to St. Catherine, so you're welcome to come by at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try to spend more time in Montreal, especially that the rates now in Canada, they went up. Yep. So the market is cooling down. So I guess I'm gonna spend more time in Montreal, and I will give you a heads up whenever I'm there, and we can connect. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Awesome.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
You too. Take care. Yo. All right.